What poverty means to me.
What poverty,
What poverty means to us.
When you don't have enough money.
Lack of possessions and things you need to survive, like food and electric.
Low income living on the breadline.
Low self-esteem, poor mental health.
This can lead to crime, theft, antisocial behaviour.
Low social status, people looking down on you because you don't have the best of stuff.
Can lead to crime, theft and antisocial behaviour. Run-down houses, no heating.
Damp.
Not having money to do things that your friends are doing.
Not being able to afford further education.
Through Young Eyes has been produced by young people to provide a unique insight into the effects of poverty on children and young people in our region.
Through this film, we hope to help others see and understand the experiences of children and young people in poverty.
There is a huge effort across Dumfries and Galloway to tackle and eradicate poverty, and we know there are already good support networks in place through local services and organisations. However, the cost of living is continuing to rise to unthinkable levels and putting huge pressure on families who are already struggling to stay afloat.
Through Young Eyes doesn't provide the solutions, rather a plea to listen to hear and reflect on children and young people's concerns, and to consider what more could be done to give them a better life and the childhood they deserve.
Child poverty is not acceptable and it is not inevitable.
I was aware of things to do with poverty when I was younger, as much as my parent tried to hide it.
I couldn't do stuff that other kids done. I struggled to get like school uniform.
I used to have kind of like baggy clothes because I couldn't afford kind of fitting clothes.
House was never really decorated because it cost money. There was always struggles to like put heating on and stuff like that.
As a young person, like you have to learn how to do things yourself, especially when I went from being in care to living on my own so suddenly. It was hard.
In my experience, it's been being unable to pay rent and lecky and then having to choose what you pay that week kind of thing. It's this big cycle of, do I pay for lecky this week? Do I pay for food this week? And for me personally, it's been kind of isolating in a way.
Even more so now with the cost of living crisis, I think there's a lot of people struggling to afford basic necessities, even like gas and electric. I know right now that my mother's been struggling to pay the bills on gas and electric, and I'm sure there's a lot of young people that are kind of suffering from that as a whole.
When I was younger, I would purposely miss school and go work because education wasn't that important when you're trying to get food.
Well, I was always different from everyone else at school. I was never allowed on like trips because it was too expensive. Never had the same like clothing as everyone else, like Nike, Adidas. And I never had anyone around in my house because everyone seemed to be different. Like I was like a different person.
Someday my dad would go without and I felt really bad that he would sometimes go without any dinner or a very small plate of dinner to make sure that I was fed.
It's hard to get a qualification when you can't focus on your studies, especially as a young person, because you're worrying about other things in your life. Like you're worrying about money, you're worrying about asking your parents for something because you know they can't afford it, or you're just worried about your friends getting the latest thing and you don't have it.
Poverty in Dumfries and Galloway for young people it kind of crushes any kind of hopes and kind of aspirations they have for future. I feel like they get kind of lost in the fact that they might not be able to get out of it. I know that I still kind of struggle with that kind of that fear of, well, if I don't get out of poverty, I'm just kind of another statistic.
There was points where I was sitting for days without food, anything, and it destroyed me. Like, you were questioning, is there any point? I'm trying, I'm working, I'm at college, I'm doing all these things to try and get more money, get better and get out of poverty, but you're not getting anywhere.
I definitely think over the past few years we've seen an increase in young people attending services who are coming in genuinely hungry or looking for food that they can then take home to siblings and family members. We've seen an increase in young people expressing worries about family situations, or how am I going to afford Christmas for mum, how's mum going to afford Christmas for us. I think COVID's had a massive part to play in that, and I think across the region we're seeing that kind of increase in worry about family situations.
Not even just young people, but like say families with young people, a lot of sort of people needing food parcels and energy vouchers to sort of manage their, because they can't afford their electricity. So we do see quite a lot of those, especially working down in the bureau, we see quite a lot of those. And we also have an emergency phone line where we do get a lot of fuel voucher requests and food parcel requests. So obviously if we're getting a lot of those requests, it shows that poverty is an issue amongst, not only just amongst young families, but also young people as well.
Well, we started Grub Club in 2018, and that was to combat holiday hunger. So we run it like 3 days a week in the holiday time for the kids and their families. That started with like 3 small children, and now I have about 23 at 3 o'clock, just the back of 3, coming in to see if I've got anything. I've seen some of the children actually saying, can I take this for my mum?
So we're going to do a little workshop around Through Young Eyes, which is focusing on poverty from the perspective of a young person, or young persons. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. So what does the word poverty mean to you?
I think poverty is like when some people are less fortunate than others and they can't afford things they need, like food.
Sometimes they don't even have enough money to get like the essentials that they need. Today we came to come do some workshops and stuff which were actually really eye-opening, because some of the things that we discussed are some things that I knew but I hadn't really thought about it until today.
Poverty isn't always visible. It's like inside homes, and it's just like their parents don't have enough money to pay for food, electricity, warm water, heating.
I mean, food is a big part of it. A lot of people do come down here just to have something to eat because their parents can't afford it.
What factors do you think can cause poverty?
I think it could be cost of living and family breakdowns.
It could be like your house is getting flooded.
It could be like too many people and like not having enough support for them all.
What about addiction and illness?
The kind of causes of poverty over here are the lack of jobs and the lack of support that people get, especially in a small town like Stranraer, and the lack of opportunities people get where in Stranraer, whereas to like Glasgow and all that, it's a bigger city, so there's more things to do, whereas down here there's not a lot of things to do. Most jobs are taken up by people and it's harder to find work.
Let's make a list for all the things that need to be done for young people.
More jobs, more funding for opportunities for young people.
More equal opportunities for young people.
More support from the government or something like that, for funding for different actual necessities.
Make food banks more accessible to young people.
Nobody actually knows who's there to support them. They don't know where to go to have a conversation with somebody about what they're struggling with, and sometimes that's all people need, is just to be able to sit and have a conversation with somebody and know that they're not going to get judged within that conversation.
Reach out to young folk, kind of ask what they think they're struggling with, because it could be a multitude of things. I know for me, that I really struggled to go anywhere when I was younger. Before the free bus passes were introduced, we didn't have enough money to be able to go and travel and do things as a family, as individuals. Even now my mother still struggles to actually do anything on her own because we just don't have enough money for the bus fares. I know that when the free bus passes were introduced for under 22s, it really benefited.
I think like there needs to be signposting it and where young people can go to get help or like just have a conversation. And I think the key thing that needs to be in it is the fact that it's all right to reach out for help, because not like it's still so like it's a really taboo subject, like touching like actually people opening up with the fact they actually need help and the fact they're actually in poverty. And I think now more often than it ever was, obviously due to inflation and cost of living and stuff, like more people are needing help.